So what is this leadership thing? Can it be taught? Well, I say it probably can't be taught, but it can be learnt. And it certainly can't be best taught in a classroom or in a seminar or in a 5-day workshop, but it certainly can be learnt. Classroom, as I said, is not the way to learn it. We need to teach people things in small bites and then let them go away to their workplace, practice them and give them feedback. The guys at DDI also did a survey, as part of their survey.
Keep going.
You're right.
We've just got a minor technical glitch from the other side. They're seeing part of the screen but not all of it. Can't get that.
See what happens if they zoom in somehow.
Yep. That's about the best we can do.
Can't do much.
Sorry guys, that's the best we can do for now.
They good? I see them all paying attention down there, so they're obviously good to go. Alright, so well, can we learn leadership? Well, there's more books and seminars and webinars and theories that you could poke a stick at management. But again, the guys at DDI went and did this survey, and what they found was that 57% of the leaders that they talked to said that they learned their leadership skills on the job and through their experience. So how can we blend that learning on the job with the short time frame that we now have to bring our leaders up, but also be blending that with some leadership, some sort of teaching of leadership skills. What makes an effective leader though in the first place? Well, it's not just one thing, we know that, and as I said, you can read thousands of different theories about the different types of leadership and what goes into making it. And we can think though, even at our own operations, about a whole lot of different types of leaders that we have. And they all have different personalities, but they all seem to get things done. Some of the leaders at our organisation might be quiet, some might be loud, some might be hands-on, some might be charismatic, some may be overbearing, and others are just plain crazy. We've got them all at our sites, but the one thing they have in common is they all seem to be able to get things done and get their team to work well, no matter what their own personal traits. So how do we draw on these things, and how do we figure out what tools they use and capture those tools and be able to teach them to our new leaders and then get those things embedded? And the tools I'm talking about here need to be not textbooks that are based on sort of office management or office leadership. Our tools that we need to use need to be obviously mining specific, they need to be simple, they need to be repeatable, they need to be easily learned and easily tried. But I think most of all for me is that first point. They need to be mining specific. We have an unusual workplace, shifts around the clock, especially with the underground environment, not seeing the people that work for you over a long period of time, and some of the theories that you read just don't apply in the mining environment. So what are some of the tools we can look at, and some of the tools that can work that we can teach people? Well, we can teach them that they need to think about managing behaviours, not attitudes. We can teach them that they need to set clear expectations for their team. They need to set things out up front. We can teach them about feedback. We can give them a feedback model that they can use to make it easy to give feedback. We can teach them to listen and talk safety. And Damien talked earlier about talking to people, not telling them. So having a two-way discussion. We can teach them a coaching model, a little coaching tool that will help them to bring their team along and learn new skills. And we can teach them about one-on-ones, so that they're making time to sit down and communicate with the people in their team better. But what we can't do is we can't teach in a classroom session. We can't give people a textbook, tell them all the models and tell them to go away and try it. And anyone that's been on a leadership course has probably found the same as me. You go back to site full of beans, ready to try new models, and you just find it difficult to introduce them to your environment. What we need to be able to do is teach our leaders things little by little and then coach them along, observe them, track them, give them feedback on how they're going. PST again, in their survey, they found that when they implemented their behavioural safety programs, on average when they implement these programs they get about a 25%, they see about a 25% reduction in injuries. What they found though was when they then involved leadership coaching as part of that and got leaders to coach people on using the behavioural safety tools, they got a 60% further increase in injury reduction. So nearly a 40% increase overall. So leading the leaders, managing the leaders. What we need to be able to do is not just teach guys in the classroom, but we need to be able to have a system to track their behaviours and to coach them along. So back to my story at the coal mine, this is where when I came on board and the new GM started, we realised that we had a challenge to confront with the way our leaders work with their teams. So what we did was we actually drew on the model of our safe behaviour process. We also drew on the model of our weekly maintenance checks on our equipment and developed a leadership observation and a leadership tracking program to make sure that our leaders who'd now done the training in some of these simple tools were actually doing them and were making the time to do them. These are the sort of things we got them to report on week to week. We've asked them to check off that they're actually doing some of these things that normally they're things they said they were already doing or that they knew they should be doing, giving positive feedback, giving negative feedback, disciplining someone, handing back a hazard report with some positive comments written on it. They're saying that they were doing it, and some probably were, some probably weren't, but we put in a system to be able to track that and to get them to tick it off from week to week. We also then used our safety observation model to get the leaders' bosses to go and observe them at work and give them feedback on how they were doing with communications, with listening and with feedback. And what we're aiming to do was take our supervisors away from these three things that tie up all their time and give them a formal process and formal time to be able to do these things that they wanted to do and that would make them more effective leaders. So what was the outcome of our project? Well, we didn't see huge dramatic turnarounds in the safety or production of the culture, but we did see some good turnarounds. The place, in my opinion, became a much better place to work. Our safety statistics improved, our production got back on board, our relationships between management and the workforce and the unions became a lot better. We only rolled this process down to the level above supervisor, so our coordinators. But what we found was it actually trickled down to the supervisor level anyway. They saw better behaviour from their leaders and them in turn. So where does the story end? As I said, it doesn't end with me sailing off into the sunset, but it did leave me with a number of things I learned about the ways that you can and can't teach mining operations how to be better, mining operators to be better leaders. And we've got that quote there, and as I said, the overall outcome was that we found safety and production and everything like that, we were physically getting more done from our leaders and more from their teams. So, to summarise, we know where we're heading as an industry overall. We're heading into the boom, we're heading into a skills shortage, and we're heading into an ageing workforce. We also know where we've been. We've tried a lot of things and they're still working and they continue to work, and it's not that we should let those go. But now we're also starting to see the one thing and the most important thing that underpins all that, and that's leadership. And I guess the challenge now for us as individuals, as mining operations, and as an industry is how we start to rapidly bring up our leaders and give them the right tools that they need to be more effective and to make their mining operations more effective at the same time. Thanks. Any questions?